Hey guys, Cynthia here. We have Will Wesley in the studio with us today. Pretty excited to hear this story. We have been slacking on the interview department because we've been working on a lot of stuff behind the scenes for the songwriters that we're pretty excited about. I am going to let Will introduce himself and tell you a little bit about his journey.
Well, hey everybody. I'm Will Wesley. I'm a singer-songwriter from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And it's a big honor to be on this show today. We got a lot to talk about. I've been a singer-songwriter for as long as I can really remember. I'm not going to tell my age, but it's been a couple of years. And coming on this show and talking about my latest single and all of my upcoming singles, it's great to meet everybody. So I'm glad to be here.
Your latest single has one heck of a story behind it. And that's really what had me say, you know what, Cynthia, don't worry about the events that you have going on. Like, he has time. Let's do it now. Let's do it now, especially with the holiday seasons coming up and the struggle that, people have around that time of the year. This is a really important message because we need to share stories like this so that people can recognize things before they get this far. And it's important to recognize that we need to we the people and be there for each other and not fall into this rat race that has been built for us to it's like that who moved my cheese except for we're the mouse and the cheese keeps moving. We need to not fall into that. We need to we the people and stick together and reach out and let people know we care. Uncle Rhino, one of his big things is if I think about you, I'm calling you. And that's huge. And I know that myself, I fall at fault because I was just thinking about it today. I'm like, I've thought about my best friend 5 times in the last week and I haven't reached out to her once. And that's going to change after this interview. But it's important. And I want to go ahead and listen to your song and then tell the story behind it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right. We're going to listen to 12 O'Clock in Texas. We're actually going to get to view the music video.
The Texas wind is blowing, the clouds are moving in. But I've been driving for hours, remembering where we've been. I'm miles and miles from nowhere. The moon has disappeared. There's a thunder in the distance. It reminds me you're not here. So I turn on the radio, searching for a song. Static's all that greets me, and I know I'm all alone. So I push on through the darkness, trying to stay away. This coffee that I'm drinking ain't strong enough to shake the rain inside of me. Never goes away and never leaves. And all my memories are falling down on me. 'Cause it's 12 o'clock in Texas. It's the dead of night for me. When I finally make the distance and the music fades away, I smile for all the strangers and I step on off of the stage. We used to shoot whiskey to celebrate the show. The Jack down the Daniel. It's a train got train on. It's a train got train on. It's hardly never goes away, it never leaves. All my memories are falling down on me. Cause it's 12 o'clock in Texas. But it's a dead of night for me. Never goes away, never leaves. All my memories falling down on me. Cause it's 12 o'clock in Texas. No, it's 12 o'clock in Texas. No, it's 12 o'clock in Texas. But it's a dead of night for me.
I absolutely love that the new generation. Oh, whoa, 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 you don't do that. Hey, healthcare.gov, that came in the background. I'm sure you guys can go get your medical insurance through that site. They want you to pay for everything, man. I'm not breaking down and paying for. Forgot to click the window after I hit the stop share. But I'm glad that the new generation is making it cool to be sober. Like, it's really been a trending thing, and it's really important. They really have not done a lot of studying on mental health. They didn't start studying PTSD in itself until 2001, and we're still denying developmental trauma in 2009, and it's real. That's why we have behavior needs students in our classrooms, because they were unacknowledged. And they need love, not medications and stigmas and all of that other stuff. So this message is important. Being sober is important. Our brain is literally the biggest muscle on our body. And every day we wake up, we watch the news, we watch the TV, we hear people talk, and it's negative, 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 negative everywhere. It is really important to train your brain. Those positive affirmations are life changers. If you can't say them to yourself, listen to them in the morning. They're all over the internet. You can go to YouTube, look up success, look up motivation, find a 15-minute one, crank it on while you're getting your coffee and getting dressed, and I promise you it's going to change your life and it's going to change your day. I want to hear the story behind this song, and I know it's probably one that's really hard for you to share. And I want to thank you for sharing it anyway, even though it's hard, because that's what's most important. Sometimes, and most often, the things that are hardest for us are the things that are best for us. And so with no further ado, I want to hear the story behind this song from you.
Well, first of all, Cynthia, I really agree with everything you say about mental health and sobriety. My road to that, I'm just like any other, country singer out there, that I definitely, in my younger years, years ago, had my battles with alcoholism. and to overcome that. The story behind 12 O'Clock in Texas is one of the most honest stories I've ever written. My brother Daniel and me were very inseparable as kids. We were very close, as brothers, often are. And one brother went into music and the other brother went into computer programming. But as the years went on, Daniel developed an addiction. It started out as a social thing for him, and it just ended up completely taking over his life. And that addiction was heroin. I personally have never done anything in that world. I've always in the past was a drinker, but I never understood those kind of addictions. And I seen my brother go from making, 100,000, 200,000 a year to literally asking me for money just to buy food to eat, to living on the streets. And where our stories connect here is he came to me not too long before his death, and he had asked me if he can work for the band, be a roadie, just travel around, tour with us. And I started doing that to help him out, just touring around and helping him just make a couple dollars to get through. His addictions got so bad that he went through a divorce. He basically, all of his connections with his children were lost. And he really just lived for his next high, to the point where as a brother, that's very painful to watch. It's very painful to see. And I tried to help him by trying to bring him on the road and try to keep him off of it. But when you have an addiction like that, he just seems to always be able to find it, until eventually it got to a point where I told him, you've got to go into rehab. I'm going to take you myself. And I took him down to Marksville, Louisiana, and checked him in. And that's where the story of this music video starts. It started in our childhood, but if you notice in the video, you're constantly seeing a sobriety coin. Because
Right.
for a lot of people, a sobriety coin is a message of hope and accomplishment. But to me, that sobriety coin for my brother was nothing more than a reminder that he failed. He lost his addictions, and he felt like he had failed everybody, but he didn't. He just felt that way. And in this video, what we're talking about is the last days of his life is where the video picks up. I was on a show when I got the call that Daniel had overdosed in a hotel room in Baton Rouge. And it was one of the most traumatizing things of my life, events of my life. I never really thought that, when you have a brother, you always assume they'll be there until the hard reality sets in that they're not. And what happened with Daniel is after his overdose, I did not know how to deal with it. A lot of people have asked, why 12 o'clock in Texas if you're from Louisiana? Well, there's a true story behind that. The very next week, I didn't know how to deal with Daniel's death. And the only way I knew how to try was to just keep working. So I went on tour, and I was in Texas. I was in Galveston, Texas, doing some shows there. And one night after a show, I was very depressed naturally. And me and a bandmate were riding home or to our hotel. And I'm telling you, Cynthia, a gale force storm, wind come across the road on a clear night. It was just a clear night. But this wind was so powerful, it nearly knocked us off the road. And my bandmate, he looked at me and he was like, that's bizarre. It's a clear night. What happened? And for some reason, I didn't even think about it. I just shouted out. I said, well, that's the spirit of my brother saying goodbye. And I went home to the hotel and I got a night's sleep. And the next morning, I started penning the lyrics to what will become 12 o'clock in Texas. And as the production of this song began, I began to really be inspired by the message of that sometimes great darkness can lead to great light. And I wanted to use my brother's story of addiction and ultimately his own death to try to spread awareness on this subject. Because let's be honest, addiction and drugs addictions, fentanyl from heroin to even alcoholism that I've battled, It is at an all-time high in this country, and it's in an all-time high in this world. And I'm not the only person who lost a brother. We all know somebody that has lost their fight with addiction. And it was through 12 o'clock in Texas that I began wanting to come on people's show like you and tell people that the first thing is, if you're dealing with someone who's an addict, never give up on them. Don't believe that there's no hope for them, because that was something at one point that I felt. And I live with the guilt of feeling like I let my brother down. And I have to live with that. And I don't want to see someone else have to deal with that. The other thing is, understand that addiction is a disease. When a person is addicted to that stuff, they're not in the right frame of mind. They do things that they would normally not do sober. And it was through this video that I wanted to portray that. You'll see in the beginning of the video, when I walk into this hotel, there's a black tourniquet around Daniel's arm, or the actor playing Daniel. And at the end, when he hands me the sobriety coin back, there's a white tourniquet. More or less my metaphorism of trying to say that though he lost his earthly battle with addiction, spiritually he is whole. And that's what the representation of the white tourniquet is. And I really hope that this video and this song reaches out to people on a personal level, because as an artist and a songwriter, my goal is not to be larger than life. As an artist and a songwriter, my goal is to be universally relatable to everyday people. I write songs for everyday people, and I tell stories for everyday people, because I feel like my goal as a Christian and as a spiritual man is to try to spread awareness to a hurting world. And 12 o'clock in Texas is a very dark statement, but there's no way to speak about addiction in a bright light. You have to express the darkness to light up the world that you're trying to do. And that's really the message.
One of the big things, and I don't know if you've watched our interviews before, but I swear that it gets brought up, and I'm probably 90% of them. I have said this. Our entertainment industry is the Robin Williams story.
Yes, it is.
It literally is.
It is.
Our whole organization is set up because of recognizing the fact that if our entertainment is struggling, our world is struggling. We are a product of our environment, whether we like it or not.
That's right. That's right.
We have to be aware of that. I'm trying to think. There was one other thing that, so basically I explained to everyone music, because it frustrates me. I'm business and I'm entertainment. I've done both. And I've also done sales, and I've done like literally everything that's required of you as a musician, which is the only thing should be required of you as a musician, is just be a musician.
Yeah.
So I explained to everybody that these requirements of these musicians are extremely taxing on the musicians, because the musicians are the product of the prism. You have to have that broken piece of glass in order for the light to shine through and create the rainbow.
That's very true.
Basically, most of these, if it's a killer song, I can almost guarantee you it came from a painful place.
Yes.
Even if it's a happy song, someone took some struggle and turned that thing around and made it pop.
Well, that's what human expression is. It's all about expressing, and expression oftentimes, they say that the most beautiful art sometimes comes from the pain of sacrifice. And I'm a believer that, there's the age-old question, art imitates life, or does life imitate art? And I'm a believer that art imitates life. I'm a believer that the story that we live as an individual is what we write and what we express, and then that's what becomes relatable to people around us. So you're speaking my language today, Cynthia. I completely believe. I agree with you on that.
I think, honestly, I mean, I'm just a vessel. I'm just here, and I pray before every interview that I don't sound like an idiot, and that the message that's supposed to get across.
No, you're doing great. You're one of the better interviewers I've had. You're doing fantastic.
Oh, the struggle is real sometimes. I absolutely love that. I'm blessed to be part of this journey. Like, there's so many aspects of it and so many things that are going on behind the scenes. But the main part of it is just that, you know, like music heals. It's scientific fact. It can help with dementia. It can help with so many different things. And back in the like decades ago, they figured this out and they started taking those properties away. They started changing the frequencies. That's why people are drawn to live performances, because they can feel it. It does something for their soul that the radio doesn't do anymore.
That's right. That's right.
And these mainstream artists, most of them, I'm not going to say all of them, but most of them have been puppeteered into being puppets, and they're singing to tracks instead of vocals. So again, you don't get the healing properties.
No, it's like taking it's like if you're cooking your meal and you just cook it so much, there's no nutritional value. That's what our country music and music as a whole is becoming. They're wanting to take the soul out of the music, Cynthia. That's what's going on. You know,
100%.
You can't take away the individuality of a songwriter. You know, you've got to be the songwriter that you are, and you've got to tell your story in order to inspire others. So at least that's how I see it.
You do. And we need to learn how to be original and be ourselves and not cave to the pressures of the world. Like literally everything will try to tell you, don't talk about that.
Yeah.
Don't say that. Don't do this. Don't do it that way instead. And you truly have to be true to yourself and you have to block off the world. Like you literally do. I mean, even the Bible tells us this. You have to block off the world and follow the path that you are supposed to follow. And for everybody that is different.
Right. The Bible also says that don't compare yourself to the rest of the world, which is kind of, in my opinion, once again, an expression on be yourself, tell your own story, live your own life, and go your own path. These
talents and these stories, you know, artists all the time are like, I just woke up in the middle of the night and this is how the song came out. Like it was in my head when I woke up at 3 a.m. and I wrote it down.
Yep.
A lot of that I feel, you know, is brought about by, you know, a higher power and it's got a purpose. And what happens when you know, turn yourself into the labels and the beast is you kind of start to lose your purpose. And that's what we see in the world of entertainment. And that's why we see our artists struggling, is because they they're not doing music for the reason that they were doing music.
That's right.
And that's what's killing the entertainment. We are so blessed to have so many amazing people in music that have recognized this, that understand that we need to grassroots this machine.
That's right.
And get it out. We need to stick the roots in there and mess up them little turners and jam it up, because our artists are the only ones working and the only ones not getting anything out of it. It's sad. It's sad. And so it's Christmas time, y'all. These artists want to hit the studio and get these songs out. They're struggling. They're working 40 hours a week and paying for a house that they never see. Go to their website, send them a tip with a positive word of encouragement for Christmas. Don't buy them a gift. Let them, you know, just get on their site and send them a word of encouragement. You don't have to add $1 to it. Send them a word of encouragement. That's a great Christmas gift. Get on there and share some posts for them. Favorite their streaming platforms. Give back to the world of music. This world would be, could you imagine? You know, I know, like I witness it and I don't even drive. Road rage. Could you imagine what our highways would look like if we didn't have music in our car?
I think there'd be a lot of mad people on the highway, worse than it is now. I think that the road rage would be at an all-time high. We would have more accidents. We got to have music.
we wouldn't have traffic jams. We would have bumper lanes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It literally would just be a mosh pit of vehicles.
Yeah. It would.
It's important to support your independent artists. It's important to support your independent radio stations. A lot of terrestrial radio stations are still in the Stone Ages and not even reporting spins. They're blocking people, telling people internet radio is not good for your business. It's
Yeah.
not good for their business. That's why they're telling you that.
Yeah. They definitely
Internet
don't want it.
radio has done more for so many artists than any terrestrial radio station. I have artists that have been like, Cynthia plugged and plugged and plugged, and it wasn't until internet radio came around that I started seeing anything out of it. We worry about our artists, and we don't really get the support that we need. Most independent radio stations are actually using their weekly job to pay for the radio station. They don't, a lot of them have sponsors and backing or any of that. They don't have directors and music, none of that. They're 100% like myself doing it all themselves and paying for it. So do your research before you support an independent station, obviously, but do that. Help them get the message out, because they really are, looking out, most of them looking out for the best interests of the artist. I want to hear about your cool stories, your accomplishments. What have you done on this road? How long have you been performing? I don't remember if you said that when you first got on.
I don't remember if I've told you, but I've been performing music my whole life. I'm not going to give my age, but
yes, you did tell us. That's why I didn't know how long it had been.
Well, I started when I was 11. My dad was a guitar player, and he taught me how to play at a young age. And pretty soon I started out as a session guitar player. I was playing behind other people in the studio and other bands, and just making a name in the guitar world. And from there, I started taking on songwriting. But I've been literally playing and touring music probably, probably about 21 years now. I've been out there. I've seen a lot of the world. I think funny story to tell you there. One of the funniest things I think I've ever done is, so my manager at the time had booked me in Asia. I was going to Bangkok, Thailand to perform. And I don't know if you've ever been there, but if you have, you're going to understand.
I've seen enough movies.
You've seen the movies. That's right. So the funniest story that I can remember, two of them actually, is I had never been to Thailand at this point in my life. And my manager, we were going to start going down Main Street to, we were getting to our venue. And I remember my manager telling me, Will, keep your head down and walk vigilantly forward. And I was like, why? And he was like, you'll see. And I was like, okay. So we start walking, and I'm telling you, out of the alleys and the cornerways, people just start pulling on you and trying to sell you things and trying to get you to go here and get you to go there. And I'm like, okay, so I get what he's getting at now. But we get to the venue, and I'm like, okay, it hits me right before I go on stage. Wait a minute. I don't speak Thai. I don't know their language. I'm about to start singing my songs, and I look at my manager, and he looks at me at the same time and goes, after all the preparation of this tour, of getting here and lining up shows, did anyone on our team consider the question that you don't speak Thai? And I was like, I haven't been briefed. So the funny thing is I go on stage and I start playing my songs, and these people are going nuts. They're losing their mind. They love it. And I look out at all these wonderful people, and they're singing my songs in American language. Like they know the words as the record, or as off of Spotify and all this. So you're seeing all these, I'm like, wow, they know the English language. All right, great. So when I finally get to go meet the people at the end of the show, I'm speaking in like English. I'm like, hey, I'm so glad you enjoyed the show. And they're all like, and I look at my manager, he goes, not a damn one of these people speak English. I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, how did they know the words to my songs? And he was like, Will, they didn't. They just learned it by listening to it off of Spotify or Pandora or wherever they get their music. But they just learned it as it sounds. They didn't actually know the English language. So the show was a big hit, but it was the communication factor. I eventually had to get someone to just come with me on the shows and translate back and forth. But it was a pretty funny story of going to Thailand. It was just something I thought would be funny to share.
Right. And well, and then talking about language, our English language is so complex and it's a hot mess. There's new words being made every single day. So now, like, we have like urban
That's right.
English and like all this. So now that those Asians, when they're like, do you understand English? They're like, just the Will Wesley version.
Right. It's like, hey, they understand my songs. So they'll go around singing their songs to people. Hey, it's all about promotion, right?
You know, it's really awesome. And I would have to say that Texas probably had a part in this. But I was scrolling on Reels not long ago and I saw a bunch of Asian people singing American country and I thought it was pretty darn cool.
It's really awesome, to be honest. I mean, that's one of the things in my career I was not ready for. I mean, we tour Europe every year and that's always special. And there's a lot of people, and like every year I tour Switzerland. And Switzerland, they have a lot of Swiss that just speak English. They understand it. So communication becomes a lot better. But in Thai, that was a totally different experience. It was just understanding that, look, we got a barrier between us here and it's a language. But you know what? It kind of shows that, like you said earlier, that music does heal and it also unites. And music, you know, it was great to be united with a different culture of people through music. That's just what a blessing from God, I feel.
It really is. And it truly is our universal language. Like you can listen to a song in Greek and not understand a freaking word of it,
Yeah.
but you're going to know if it's happy or sad.
That's right. That's right. You know, I mean, if you would have told me when I was, I don't know, 8 or 9 years old that living the Vida Loca means living the crazy life, I would have been like, what? Huh? But I know the words.
Right. So since you've been playing your whole life, I do have to ask you this, and I want to like put in a little tidbit for this because we are working on a huge behind the scene thing that I'm not really ready to like. I started talking about it to the public and I'm not ready to start talking about it to the public again yet.
Yeah.
But we're working on this huge thing and it will involve a little bit of this. So growing up with music and music in your family, did you ever go to like the campgrounds and sit around the ring of fire and just end up with like a bunch of people with banjos and random stuff just jamming to like home on the range? Because I remember specifically taking my clarinet to the campground and there was all these old timers. And that was one song I knew and they knew. And we jammed out with my little 7th grade self and my clarinet to home on the range. Did you ever have any experiences like that?
Well, Cynthia, I'm building a bonfire in the backyard right now. You can bring your clarinet and we can play home on the range. You know,
like, it was that or hot cross buns, as I was very
honestly, that is very, very much how I actually learned music, is that, you know, I started learning how to play a guitar around the kitchen table. My dad would, he had a friend named Steve that played banjo and he played guitar, and they'd be playing all these classic bluegrass songs, you know, and all these different kinds of country songs until eventually I learned how to play a guitar good enough to where I can eventually sit in with them. And another thing, by my house, they have this historic venue called the Old South Jamboree. And what that was back when I was a kid, they would bring artists in, and at the end of every show, they would just basically sit around and do a jam session. So I think that, honestly, you know, doing a jam session as a young kid and playing around the table is how I learned how to not only play music, but it's also how I learned how to try to read people and figure out what they like. So absolutely, that was a huge part of my life growing up.
Right. So, bringing that up, I want to inspire our struggling artists. Nature is nurture. So, if you're struggling to get booking, struggling to find fans, struggling in general, find another songwriter, book yourself a tent or a cabin at a campground, and
Yep,
just go hang out for the weekend and bring
that's
your
right.
guitar. Because by the end of it, you're going to have a whole campground full of fans. You might
Yep.
end up with a booking. You're going to make a new friend with your collaboration. Y'all might end up with a song together by the end of the weekend, and it's going to be good for your mental health.
It's a win-win all around. I agree with that, and I support that. You got my stamp of approval on that.
I mean, we got to think out of the box. We got to go back to what worked before the machine made us work.
You know, one thing I miss about like the older way is like the word of mouth. I don't know about where are you from, Cynthia? Like, where were you originally born from?
So I was born and raised in Illinois, Iowa border, and I kind of
Oh.
emancipated and grew up in Florida. So,
Well, I've been to both of those places, and I can tell you that you will probably remember this. Whatever happened to the days where bands were just putting their flyers on like light poles and going around and trying to spread the word of mouth? I miss that in music. It's not all digital. I mean, word of mouth and winning your fan base on a more intimate level, it's still got to be alive and well.
that now has been labeled as solicitation and could end up in a littering fine.
Yes. Yep.
That's where it went. I
That's where.
remember specifically, and this is hilarious because I am an out of the box marketing person. So I'm also dyslexic. So I was thinking about posting in rants and raves the other day, and I accidentally posted that I wanted to rant about someone, and then I went on to talk about them positively. And let me tell you the fireball that started.
No.
There was about 50 people that came to the post just to tell me to correct the post. And after the first 3, I realized that I was not, in fact, going to correct the post
You're
because
gonna.
that's what was going to get the post noticed is people correcting me, on the post.
Any press is good press.
Yes, you have to think about out of the box. And you have to, not worry about what other people think. So I specifically remember, and I don't remember what it was for, and I can't remember if it was for church or if it was for work, but I was definitely in Daytona Beach, Florida, where that was my area, so it could have been for either. In the parking garage down on A1A, handing out, I was putting flyers in the car windows.
Yeah.
And this was my first time in my life seeing a police officer on a Segway. I got chased by a cop on a Segway.
Had a high-speed chase for promoting, huh?
Who told me that I had to go back and remove all those flyers. And I was like, okay. And so I grabbed like the first 5 and then darted the heck out of there.
A bit of a rebel, are you?
I mean, you have to. You kind of have to be. You have to be. I mean, Jesus was.
Yeah. Jesus didn't follow the earthly rules. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, and yes. So you have to be one of those outcast people that are willing to go. You have to be willing to go for the mile for what your message needs to be. I mean,
That's right.
discernment. That's right. Use discernment. Don't be. You can be an outlaw and a rebel, but don't be a arse hat.
Yeah. No, I'm with you 100% on that.
And always, do it with be genuine. Be genuine. That's what the whole message is about. And the message is about, being genuine, not only to yourself, but your path.
That's right. And your message, what you believe in. If you stay true to yourself, you'll find your fan base. If you are who you are, people will follow. They'll follow you.
They literally will. And for every person that hates you, there are 10 people in this world who haven't met you yet that's going to absolutely adore you.
Correct.
And your haters are literally walking billboards. They talk about you more than your fans do. I guarantee that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So don't let them get to you. I want to hear this next song, and we are going to hear the story behind it before we head out. It's actually a remake of a song that everybody is familiar with. It's going to fit right in here with the holiday season. What inspired you to redo this song?
The gospel message, to be honest, and a lot of my branding and a lot of the songs I've written, it's all about, the standard outlaw messages that I write about. There's some wasted again, things like that. But I wanted to show the audiences a more Christian side of me. I am a strong, devoted Christian, and I wanted to bring gospel aspects into my music. And Go Tell It on the Mountain was something that as a kid I grew up listening to. I wanted to go more traditional Christmas this year. And I know it's been covered by a lot, but I wanted to create a collaboration between country music and gospel that was my own. And that's what really inspired me to do Go Tell It on the Mountain with a more country gospel flair. And I hope the people like it. I hope it brings them a Merry Christmas this year.
Absolutely. And I do want to also say that diversity within your art is how you develop as an artist.
Yes, I agree.
Not 100%. Sticking to one genre, like primarily, yes, I'm a country artist, but if you throw some different things in there, you're going to be able to reach out to a wider audience, and it's going to help you as yourself develop in the genre that you prefer doing.
Yes.
It's really an awesome opportunity. We have our son, like it's all the time different stuff, and we encourage that. It's so cool to hear Slipknot one day, and then all of a sudden we got, Nirvana the next. We just take it down a notch.
Hey, look, I come up on all that. I love that stuff.
Yes. And it's crazy because, so many people, and I feel like, just like they say, if God is within you, the world is not going to like you because of what is in you, not because of you. And the same goes with I feel like country music, because there's a lot of people that just absolutely despise country music.
Yes.
But I feel like it's because of the wholeness that it's in country music, not because of country music. It's because of the wholeness and what is actually in. I mean, it's known as God's music. I mean, a lot of it was at one point before, we started getting mainstream with that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm ADD and dyslexic, and I don't know where I'm going with that other than be diverse. Be yourself, though, in your diversity. And with that, I'm going to thank you for showing your beautiful face here on our live screen today.
Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you as well for having me. You're a great interviewer, and I love your originality. You definitely you have your own personality, and that's very refreshing.
It really is. Being able to have my own personality has taken a lot of work because I'm telling y'all, people are going to try to fit you in a box, put you on a sheet of paper, mark you down as something every direction that you turn. And you literally have to put your hater blockers on, put your deception blockers on, and stay true to yourself and your mission. Or you're going to get lost in the world, and then you're going to feel lost, and then you're going to feel depressed, and then you're going to end up like the story we heard about 12 o'clock in Texas, and we don't want that. So stay true to you. That's bottom line where it comes from. This world could be cured through acknowledgement. Bottom line, people need someone that they can talk to, that they trust, that is not going to judge them or talk about them, and that loves them.
I could not
Those
agree.
two ingredients can cure the world.
I agree.
And with that, we're going to put this lovely little flyer back on here to let you know who's singing this song. And we are going to go tell it on the mountain. Thank you, Will Wesley, for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Cynthia. I really enjoyed it.
On the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. While shepherds kept their watching o'er silent flocks by night, behold, throughout the heavens there shone a holy light. So go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Down in a lonely manger, our humble Christ was born, and brought us all salvation that blessed Christmas morn.